So I recently made a video where I designed new copy ability fusions for the game Kirby 64, or what it would be like if there were other copy abilities in that game. And when I was doing that, I was essentially thinking like, okay, the main gimmick of that game is that you combine power-ups into new power-ups, and that's a Kirby thing, but Mario's also got power-ups in his series, and that's never really been a thing before where you can combine power-ups in any Mario game. So what would it be like if you could fuse Mario's power-ups like you can of Kirby in Kirby 64? And thus I came up with a pretty big list of Mario power-up fusions. And this is going to include several different power-ups: the Fire Flower, the Ice Flower, the Bubble Flower, which is a fairly new one from Wonder, the Rock Mushroom, the Cloud Flower, the Propeller Mushroom. Yeah, just those actually. But that's more than the Kirby video I did, and that still comes out to several different results we're going to talk about here. So to start off, we're going to look into what I came up with for different fire power-up fusions. Starting with the Fire plus Cloud. This would create Smoke Mario, and with this power-up, Mario would throw smoke balls that could either confuse enemies or just stop them in their tracks, or stop them from attacking because they sort of get covered in a cloud of smoke. And you can see here I just gave them very grayish, dark color scheme to match the smoky design basis. And I also added one of the little bumps from the Cloud Flower hat to the back of his regular hat, because the basis of this image here was just Fire Mario. For Fire and Bubble, I could have done some like generic fire-water duality thing, but instead I was thinking, okay, it's not called the water power-up, it's literally called the bubble power-up. And in the Mario series, there are enemies called Potaboos, which are also called lava bubbles. So I just came up with this. It's literally the Potaboo power-up. Mario wields Potaboos as projectiles instead of enemies. So it's pretty much just similar to the regular fire power-up, but instead of throwing them forwards, he throws them upwards, and then they'll sort of just go up and down in the air for a while, like a regular Potaboo would, jumping up and down out of the lava. And of course, killing any enemies that cross through it. And for this, I sort of just combined the two colors of the Bubble suit and the Fire Flower suit with the red and pink. Next up, for the Fire Flower and the Rock Mushroom, this would create the Meteor power-up. It practically functions the same as the regular rock power-up in Super Mario Galaxy, or 2, whatever one that's from. However, you fly when you do it, and you can essentially just fly through the air as a burning rock, and then when you touch an enemy or the ground, you just explode. Next up, we have Fire and Ice. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do something like this, like 2 things ago, but I did. Oops. Fire and Ice, I just did literally Fire and Ice. The power-up is called Elemental Mario, and it just throws... Well, I have 2 different variations, I should say. The one, he literally just throws a fireball and an ice ball, but the other one, he throws a fusion of a fireball and an ice ball. And this essentially shares the properties of fire and ice, especially, or specifically the way they would work in, like, New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Because in that game, the ice can freeze dry bones and then kill them, but the fire can't. And I believe there are some things the fire can do that the ice can't, like damaging bosses, so it would essentially just be able to do both things. Next up for Fire and Propeller, we have the Jet power-up. It would be similar to the regular Propeller power-up, but when you launch off the ground, it shoots like a burst of fire, as if you're like a rocket blasting off. And then as you fly through the air, you have fire descending from your feet, like little jet boosters that would damage anything below you and protect you from below. And I took a little creative liberty with this one, adding a visor to it to make it look more like a sort of pilot helmet or something, since it's more like a industrial version of the Propeller power-up as it is. And then one more thing I do with each one is just like in Kirby 64, where you can get an extra powerful ability by combining 2 of the same thing. I did that here too. So Fire and Fire, and I should say all of these, I just took the Super Mario Galaxy variant of the Ice Flower, how he turns just into completely ice. I just used that as the basis for the design of all these, but I changed the colors so it looks like it's made of different things. So Fire plus Fire creates the Superstar Fire power-up, where you just turn into literal fire Mario, and you literally just kill anything by touching it, and you throw much larger fireballs. Moving into the ice fusions, for ice plus propeller, we have the skate power-up. This is probably one of the most creative ones I came up with here. I essentially took the propeller from the suit's hat and just moved it to the foot and turned it in to a skating suit with skating skates, or whatever you call them. And one thing I was thinking about when I made this is the fact that skaters, or like figure skaters, sometimes they'll jump in the air and spin, and the propeller power-up, when you use that, you spin into the air to fly. So with this fusion, you can't exactly fly like you could with the propeller mushroom, but you can do a boosted spinning jump, and you can also just skate over water. Ice plus Cloud creates the Hail ability. It functions exactly the same as the Cloud for the most part, except the Cloud platforms that you produce drop ice balls onto enemies below them and freeze them, and you can also throw regular ice balls like the Ice power-up would. Ice and Rock would create the Snowball ability, which would be the same as the regular Rock ability, but when you roll into something it freezes it. And then Ice, combined with itself, creates the Sub-Zero Ice ability, where anything you touch or anything that touches you will just automatically freeze, and you can throw larger snowballs than with the regular Ice ability. And Ice plus Bubble, this was also a pretty cool one, pretty proud of this. This creates the Snow Globe ability, where you trap enemies in a snow globe that can be picked up and thrown, causing an explosion of snow that freezes more enemies. So essentially for this I was thinking like, bubbles are clear, spherical objects, and so are snow globes. And since I'm fusing it with ice, snow globes are sort of like a wintry thing, and obviously there's fake snow in them, so it all sort of came together in that. And then I added a little, like, Santa hat cotton ball on top of Mario's hat, and made his hair gray to make him resemble Santa more, just so that this is a quite festive-looking power-up design. And also you've got a little Goomba trapped in the snow globe for reference there. Moving into some more bubble stuff, we've got Rock and Bubble, which creates the Crystal, or alternatively, I guess you could call it the Crystal Ball power-up, which is similar to the regular Rock power-up again, except it rolls a lot slower. But when you crash into something, it shoots powerful crystal shard shrapnel all over the place, and it's just more powerful overall despite being slower. Cloud and Bubble creates the Rain ability, which again is practically just the Hail one from earlier of the ice, except the clouds rain down on enemies, which can kill fire enemies, but can make others just slip on puddles that it produces, and then Mario can still just shoot the regular bubbles like Bubble Mario could. Bubble plus Propeller creates the Blimp ability. This one's kind of weird, but it's all I could come up with, really. It essentially functions like the Lakitu Cloud would, but it's much faster through the air and easier to control. And for this, I kind of just figured, like, a bubble is kind of like a balloon, so put a propeller on it, and boom, it's a blimp now. And lastly, Bubble and Bubble creates the Deep Clean Bubble ability, where anything that touches you instantly goes into a bubble, and you can throw larger bubbles, obviously. And for this one, Mario becomes a nice, solid pink, just like a soap version of Mario. Moving into some rock stuff, we've got Rock and Propeller, which creates the Ninja ability. I figured a propeller spins, and so does a shuriken when it's thrown. So Mario becomes Ninja Mario, and he can throw shurikens that can pierce through multiple enemies, and he can also do a sort of sneaky attack that sort of just teleports you directly into the air, sort of maintaining the flying properties of Propeller, except instead of flying to the air, you just sort of poof into the air, then fall back down. Rock plus Cloud creates the Sandstorm ability, where you spin and whip up a little sandstorm tornado that launches rocks around enemies. Rock plus Rock creates the Boulder Rock ability, where you just permanently have a sort of stone force field around you, and you cannot be damaged and just crush everything. So naturally this one seems a lot more powerful than the others already, so perhaps it would be one that has like a time limit or something, or maybe all of these would have time limits if they're fusion power-ups that are just more powerful to begin with. Lastly, just finishing up with Cloud plus Propeller. This would be very similar to the Sandstorm one, but it's just the regular tornado ability, where you create a tornado that instead of launching rocks at things, it sucks things in and then launches those things at other enemies. including other enemies. It can suck them in and launch them out. And this one I also added the propeller hat's propeller to the cloud hat, just for a little show of the fact that this is a fusion of the two. Then we've got Cloud plus Cloud, which creates the Nimbus Cloud power-up, where it sort of gains some electric properties in the fact that anything that touches you gets zapped. And I believe the regular Cloud power-up, you can only create like 3 Cloud platforms at a time. This would allow you to create more, or just make it so that they don't disappear, in addition to the fact that they would also shoot lightning down at enemies. And lastly, we have the Propeller plus Propeller ability, which would create the Turbine Propeller. Anything that touches you from above will be killed by the propeller spinning. And unlike the regular propeller mushroom where you just fly into the air and then descend, this would sort of function like Meta Knight's Side B, in a way, from Smash, where you can like control through the air as you're spinning and ascending into the air, but then you would still descend slowly. And as you're going through the air while spinning with the propeller, it'll also just kill anything you touch. So yeah, that's all of those. I was going to do more, but I figured these are some of Mario's most, like, generic abilities that are either based on, like, elements or just an object. Because really, most of Kirby 64's stuff is just very generic stuff like that to create more unique things through the fusions. If you like this, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and thanks for watching.